Welcome back to another edition of the BlueWhite Tailgate Pawcast. Frank Banana, the York Daily Record, Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product on Substack, and me, Andrew Callista. Happy New Year, our first show of the year. We took a couple weeks off after our, I shouldn't say weeks, couple days off after our post-game recap from the Pinstripe Bowl. Terry Smith winning record down on the field at Yankee Stadium. You guys excited to be back? You excited? 2026, first episode.
I'm beside myself, and we all know how painful that can be.
Yes.
Frank.
Awesome. Happy New Year's.
Frank obviously is very excited. Mike is obviously very excited. Maybe not my excitement level, but we're going to start with Mike Gross today, and we're going to talk Penn State basketball first. Nobody freak out on the asteroid. We had Mike Rhodes on earlier this year. He said there were going to be games where they really surprise people, and then there were going to be games where you wanted to pull your hair out. Penn State has experienced both of those. Unfortunately, the games they've been able to surprise people, they didn't translate into wins. Michigan State and Michigan. They don't belong on the same court as Michigan. They really don't. When you look at it, paper versus paper, NIL versus NIL. And yet, last night, Penn State goes down in an empty Bryce Jordan Center. Maybe if fans showed up, they'd get better players. They lose 74-72. Mike, your thoughts?
Well, they had a shot to win it at the end, and I covered another basketball game last night, so I didn't see this. And when I got home and looked at the score, I was astounded. Michigan has been the best team in the country without question. They're not number one in the AP poll, but they should be. Give you they've scored over 100 points in half their games. To give you an illustration, Gonzaga is the 8th ranked team in the country. They're 14-1. Michigan beat them by 40. And Penn State goes to the end with them without its best player. I can't even imagine how this happened. I mean, I'm astounded by this.
Best player and point guard. I mean, it's one thing to have your best player as an off the ball.
Best and most indispensable player by far. So, I mean, again, Mike Rhodes, God love him. They figured out how to defend some of the. I mean, Michigan scored 74 points, which is way below what they normally score. They must have figured something out defensively. And I do think that although this is a loss, it's possible that this will give some of these young guys some confidence going forward. I mean, I don't want to overstate it. They could go out to Purdue now. They have a couple days and get bombed, but I do think it's possible that this was a good enough performance given the circumstances that maybe it could give them a little confidence, a little mental toughness. It's a positive.
Yeah. In the last play, the coaching staff is being ripped for the last play. Obviously, I'm a take it to the hole type of guy. A lot of my friends are take it to the hole type of guy. At the same time, Michigan is very, very good and very, very strong down low.
They're long, yeah. They're very long.
A lot of NIL money down there. A lot of NIL money down there. Probably more than Penn State's entire roster, by the way, among their bigs. But the play was not executed. There was supposed to be a screen up top. Young players ran through the screen, didn't actually set the screen, hence why it looked like a switch. Got to execute in that position. Freddie DeLeon had a great game, really filling in for Mingo, running the show. All right, time to welcome Frank Bonanni back to the show as we've talked basketball. Mike, you can take a break. We're going to talk a little bit of wrestling right here. Penn State set to start their Big Ten slate. Not that it matters for the most part in the history of Penn State wrestling. Since Cale Sanderson has got there, they get Rutgers this weekend. Coming out of the Southern Scuffle, some question marks here at 141. What's going on with Penn State wrestling as we get into the Big Ten slate?
Yeah, I mean, I still think this could be maybe their deepest roster. So the problem at 141 is the guy that they want to have starting is injured again, Aaron Nagel, and he hasn't been healthy for 2 years, and he tried to wrestle last weekend and had to pull out. So their options, I mean, they have other options. It's just where do they go exactly? We don't know. And I don't think Cale was dropping any hints today before the Rutgers match, because they could either go with a freshman they've been using this Nate Desmond, who's actually a lighter weight, but he's done really well in December, moving up to 141, or they could pull the red shirt. Now this is great, right? So Penn State is red shirting guys that are all Americans. That's where they're at.
Yeah,
because they don't need them. So Braden Davis, they wanted to redshirt him. They could also pull his red shirt, but they got to do it soon. They could pull him back if Nagao can't go. So I don't know exactly what Kale's going to do, but I don't think it matters. It matters to the guys. I don't think it matters at all to the results of this match or the season, because right now the only question marks that they really have is at 141 and heavyweight. And heavyweight's not so much question mark of who's doing it. It's just Cole Marisolo is the only Penn State wrestler who's not ranked in the top 10. So, he's still in the top 20. How does he go through the whole season? It really wouldn't matter. They probably wouldn't have to wrestle either of those weights the rest of the year and still do whatever they want to. So, I'll leave it at this. So Rutgers is ranked, right? They're a top 20 team. So they have 2 losses, and one of their 2 losses is to Oklahoma, which is a team that Penn State shut out to start the season. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you'll see at least a first step in an experiment at 141. And then, like you said, they have to make a decision soon, because it comes down to qualifying for nationals on minimum sets of matches that you need to be able to get in as a possible at large. So, talked wrestling, we've talked football. We are not going to talk hockey. Big days are ahead for Penn State hockey. We'll talk about those in the days and weeks ahead. Time to talk football. I don't know where we should start. Coaching staff, transfer portal, or the college football playoff. Let's push the college football playoff off just a tad. And let's first dive in, because it's the least expansive, and we'll keep everybody on the hook here a little bit. We'll talk coaching staff. Deion Barnes, gone from Penn State. He's off to South Carolina. Connect the dots. Shane Beamer, Virginia Tech. Somebody had to pull a string on that one to get that one to happen. That one caught me a little bit off guard. But Matt Campbell wheeling and dealing with the coaching staff, as the coaching staff appears to be, by my eye, now final with that press release that Penn State just set out. Maybe I missed something, guys.
Yeah, we still need a running backs coach.
Running backs coach. There we go. Stan Drayton has departed. Thank you. I thought when I looked at it, I was missing something. I'm like, this doesn't look complete. Running backs coach right there. With everybody's titles, it's easy to overlook something. So the coaching staff, sans the running backs coach, is complete. So you're waiting for one more. Frank, your thoughts on Deion Barnes departing and who they've been able to bring in to replace it, a very familiar face to the new defensive coordinator, D'Antoine Lynn.
Well, that's the key, is that they were able to get the defensive coordinator that they wanted, D'Anton Lynn, who they apparently had interest in last year before Jim Knowles. I think that's a great fit. So then, really, once you get the guy you want, D'Anton Lynn, to lead your defense, and who does he really want, feel comfortable with working under him? And I think it went from there, and they've seemingly have gotten some good guys, right? They have the new defensive line coach was UCLA's coordinator and has a long history of coaching D-line. The new linebackers coach was a defensive coordinator at Cincinnati, and he's worked with Matt Campbell. And by the way, they're keeping Dan Connor, right? He's still going to be assistant linebacker coach, so no changes there. So I think not in quality, not just the D coordinator. I think they've gotten really good guys, at least from the resumes, to work. I mean, we saw the best resume of assistant coaches last year, and that didn't turn out well at all. But I think this is a different dynamic, because Matt Campbell is bringing guys he's worked with, right? He knows these guys for the most part. A lot of them he knows well. And, I think we're looking again at fit. And I think they've done well.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to what Frank said there. I mean, I think these guys are fine as coaches and recruiters. I don't see any reason not to. We'll see. The one thing I do think is kind of interesting is for a couple of defensive coordinators in a row now, going back to Manny Diaz, Penn State has kind of favored this smaller, quicker, more athletic, what I think of as a Jimmy Johnson style. That shows you how old I am, but Jimmy Johnson style defense. And now we're bringing in a guy who I think is thinking about it a little differently. And we're not going to see the 3-3-5 thing that Campbell did at Iowa State, but maybe a little bit different approach from D'Anton Lynn. And when we get into the transfer portal and the players involved, we can expand on that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's when you leave last guy to leave Ames, Iowa, turn off the lights. There you have it.
The one thing I'm interested in, though, lastly, that new running backs coach who we don't know who the lead is yet. What are the chances that D'Anton Lynn can get his dad to come in for at least a year or two?
Oh, okay.
Wow. Anthony Lynn's with Washington, right? But I mean, hey, do your son a favor. It's an open spot. Anthony Lynn is, I mean, as much as Stan Drayton was kind of a running backs coach whisperer in college, Anthony Lynn has done basically nothing but specialize in coaching running backs in the NFL.
Okay, that's a good thought, Frank. I didn't think about that. Way to create, big guy.
Absolutely. But he didn't wear number 8. So where would he fit in on the roster? Because you look at Terry Smith, wore number 8, D'Antoine Lynn, wore number 8 at Penn State. I don't know. These guys have to do something. Apparently, Allen Robinson.
So the uniform number is very impressive. Very.
Get Allen Robinson on the phone. I'm trying to think. Did one of the Collins brothers wear number 8, I think?
Well, there's like 9 of them. So, I mean,
yeah.
Probably did.
Of course.
Eric McCoo. There we go. Eric McCoo coming back as number 8 to coach running backs at that point. I do like the D'Antoine Lynn hire, not because I was a fan of his when he played, but just based on the fact is it's different system than what Matt Campbell ran. So by going to a different system, it shows he's already being adaptive by bringing in somebody with a different philosophy to run his defense.
And we should point out that the coordinator he had at Iowa State retired.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody thought when Campbell got hired, he was probably coming, but he retired.
And D'Anton Lynn's well respected. I mean, he's done a great job. It's not like they're just hiring a former Penn State player who could like work with Matt Campbell. This guy would be highly sought after to me by any.
Made USC's defense better when he came over from UCLA. It's interesting that he didn't jump USC after 1 year to come to Penn State under James Franklin, but he jumps after 2 years to come and work for somebody else at Penn State other than James Franklin. Should we be reading into the tea leaves? Is this him and James Franklin didn't hit it off? They didn't agree, because there was a heavy interest and a lot, and then it was all of a sudden, well, we're going with Jim Knowles.
Well, was Lynn at USC for 2 years?
I thought 2. Yeah, 2.
And at UCLA the year before that.
Yes.
He also greatly improved their defense.
Yes, he did. Even more so in some ways. Even more so.
Well, I mean, it's not clear to me that if Franklin could have had D'Anton Lynn, he would have taken him over Jim Knowles.
Could it? Very well could be.
It's possible, but it's not. That's not at all clear to me. That's the case.
I'm just trying to look into that because there was a lot of smoke there, and it was kind of Jim Knowles was like out of reach, and then it was all of a sudden Pat Kraft, Penn State, James Franklin, they're all in $3 million for a defensive coordinator. Oh, it's complicated. It takes 3 years, and it was like, then it was almost like shoot first, shoot some more, and then when everybody is dead, like the movie line in Wild Wild West, try to ask a question. So
nice. Okay.
Oh, well.
I'm with you.
Moving on. The coaching staff's all changing pretty much, outside of Terry Smith. It's all new coming in. I was impressed, by the way, with what Ryan Clanton's been able to do all along the offensive line. And if you could block in the Big Ten, you're going to win some football. So all about that. I don't even know where to start with the transfer portal. 40-plus Penn State players are leaving in the portal. 40.
And it changes every couple minutes. I mean, I tried to write something about this on Sunday, and every time I looked at the list, it had changed. It had changed. It happened like 5 times while I was trying to write this, and I finally gave up and said, I'm going to wait until like Monday or Tuesday when the dust clears. Of course,
Sunday was
day. God love him.
Sunday was ridiculous. I jumped into it and had to try to figure. I mean, they got like 15 guys, I think, on Sunday.
Yeah,
and lost guys.
Yeah,
and they were all from Iowa State, every single one of them. So it was. We knew they were going to be getting Iowa State guys. I'm not so sure, but we've never been through this before. That's the other thing. I mean, this was never anything close to this at Penn State. So I don't know how people could ever say you didn't expect it because you've never been through it, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's up to 18 or 19 guys from Iowa State that have joined.
And almost all of them, maybe all of them, but almost all of them were 3 stars coming out of high school. I mean, none of these guys, as far as I could tell, you may know better, Frank, but as far as I could tell, none of these guys were recruited by the kind of schools that Penn State is usually competing with for recruits: Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, etc.
Yeah,
all of them. Now, if you're a Matt Campbell guy, you're going to say, yeah, but he develops the hell out of them, and development is the key. But you're not going to wave a magic wand of Matt Campbellness over 20 guys and have them in a matter of months, turn into 5 stars. So I mean, it's a little bit sobering. On the other hand, you have to have players. You have to have a football team. You have to have enough guys to practice and compete with each other. There's an element of that too.
Frank, before you jump in, I just want to point out Mike Rowe said the magic word, 3 stars. Everybody freak out. Everybody freak out. 3 stars. They're done. Penn State, they should just forfeit the schedule. Fortunately for Penn State, their next year's football schedule is 1 star. Is 1 star. And
that is a critical element. They do not have a tough schedule next year.
The schedule sucks, and it appears to keep getting easier. Washington's returning quarterback is in the portal. I mean, yeah. And by the way, one thing about this transfer portal class, with how many guys Penn State has to take, because they have no freshmen coming in from signing day, Frank.
Well, they have 10 from Iowa State.
Yeah, they're getting them. They're building it back. At least it's better than 2, which it was last month. Now they're up to about half. They got to bring in a lot of guys. But here's the thing. Matt Campbell knew this. Matt Campbell knows that every one of his Cyclones can't play in the Big Ten at Penn State, but he knows that a good many of them can. And I think it's a different dynamic because a lot of these guys were from the Midwest. It's a whole different recruiting area. I mean, like, look at their backup quarterback. So we're getting 2 quarterbacks. We're getting a bona fide starter in Rocco Beck, who is, no lie, he's the real deal, right? But the backup, Alex Mansky, is one of Iowa State's highest rated recruits ever. Okay. But the thing was, he's from I think he's from Iowa, maybe, or Nebraska or somewhere, but he committed so early to Iowa State that he didn't get this big, long list of scholarship, offers. So I think he's really good, and I think they believe in him. And I think there's other guys like that. Like, they're 3 stars, but their tight end, one of their tight ends are bringing in. I mean, he's an all Big 12 guy.
Ben Brahmer?
Yes, he might be the best one, right? Him and Rock.
He was their leading receiver by number of catches last year.
But he's good. He's good no matter what level. And then look at the running back. Okay, he was all Big 12. So he wasn't maybe a stud recruit, but he was really productive and really good. I think he might be number 1 at running back at the moment, or fighting for it for Penn State. And they have a safety.
The safety is another very good player, Marcus
Neal Jr. He's an all Big 12 guy as well. So there's some guys that we know are productive right away and can play in this league on this team that are probably penciled in as starters right now. And I think there is obviously depth guys, but like Mike said, I mean, Penn State, you're losing 45 guys. I mean, you start with what you know, to me. And what you know is what you have at Iowa State. And now you're pretty much done that. And the next week and a half is for who else can you get?
And the inverse of what I said a minute ago is also true. You just mentioned 45 guys, Frank. A lot of those guys were probably never going to play at Penn State, or probably never going to play a lot. But you have to replace those guys. They still have to be replaced. You have to have 85 football players or 100 football players or whatever it is. So there's that element to it too. I don't know that you freak out over the number of guys that are leaving. I think you do freak out a little bit if you're a Penn State fan about some of the specific guys who are leaving.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch on that later. Just coming into the arrivals, as Penn State, I think they have 23 transfer portal commitments. They're going to be the number one transfer portal class if we're talking about ratings. Not that.
That's what they're saying. Yeah,
I think at one point James Franklin, when people were freaking out about transfer portal ranking classes, he was like, it doesn't really matter because a lot of these guys wouldn't be playing at other schools, and that's why they're in the transfer portal to begin with. So that is something to keep open. The portal's open until January 16th. Outside of Brahmer and Becht, is there any guys that jump off the page to you that you're circling as this has to be a contributor? I know from the linebackers perspective, Penn State has to be able to find linebackers, and there's a couple of them in this transfer portal class. Who else do you guys have making an impact? Maybe it's Peoples. Obviously, Ohio State recruits talent at running back. Yeah. Maybe Peoples is coming in with an eye to say, this is a guy we actually have to look at because Penn State's running back room is decimated with graduation and departure.
This is kind of what I was alluding to a minute ago when we were talking about the coaches. Is this Keanu Williams, this a big defensive tackle from UCLA who's 6'5", 320 pounds. I mean, Penn State hasn't had a guy like that for a long time. I would say maybe PJ Mustipher, maybe, and I'm not even sure if he is literally that guy. I like that kind of player, a guy who clogs the middle and occupies blockers and allows other guys to make plays. And Penn State really hasn't had that element, even though he had 39 tackles this past season. So he does make some plays. To me, he is maybe the second most significant after Rocco Becht of the guys that are transferring in. And maybe because it indicates that they're going to be a little bit different approach to defense with the new coordinator.
Okay. Well, so I think we got a half dozen or more guys. I mean, we've already mentioned Brahmer and Marcus Neal at safety. Okay. You have a third, their tight end room completely flipped around, but you have another backup tight end who's a senior, this Gabe Burkle guy from Iowa State that is quality. He's going to play. He's on the depth chart, right? But you also got receivers, right? They took Iowa State's, I think, top 3 receivers, and I think these guys can play. I don't think Penn State has a number 1 receiver per se out of the transfer portal yet, but I think you got guys who have proven they can do it at this level, right? So I think that's good. We talked about Carson Hansen, the running back. Okay, that's a deal. They got an all Big 12 offensive lineman, Trevor Burr. You talked about Clanton's deal at assistant coach and how you need blockers. He's going to be a good one. And look at Chase Sal is a receiver that we mentioned. I think he's a guy, and there's a couple of these guys that maybe haven't been all Big 12 or a star, but have the qualities that you get into a different landscape, a different system, a different place. That's a guy that to me has the talent to become better than who he's been. Like, he's got 1 year left. He's experienced. He's got the measurables. You put it all together. I wouldn't disagree with any of their I think they got a nice haul so far. The thing going forward to me is, what do they do now in the last week and a half? Because
supposedly there's a couple receivers out there. And it's Samson Gash from Michigan State, Quincy Porter from Ohio State, who was a 5-star guy who did not burn his red shirt this year. Ohio State fairly strong at wide receiver, you may have heard. And Texas, Miami, Oregon, Notre Dame. they're all after him. But supposedly Penn State is engaged with both of those guys. If they could get one or the other, that would be something.
Penn State's departures, right? I mean, we could go through the list, and I'm not going to talk.
You're not going to need them all 40, are you?
I'm not going to name all 40.
Okay,
but
thank you.
I am going to name, and it's a lot, of ones that are notable, and we'll get to the notables, and then ones that I think are a loss. So notable is Tyseer Denmark based on his tweet. Amari Campbell tweeted out about disrespect. Andrew Walsh, 5-star tight end. More on that later. Dakari Nelson, I think, is notable. Belgrave Shorter started at safety to start the year. Notable. King Mack, Luke Reynolds, Ethan Grunkmeyer, I think are all losses. Harvey's a loss. Specca, I'm unsure about. Xavier Gilliam showed flashes. I think that's a loss. Obviously, Chaz Coleman, Elliott Washington, I both think are losses. Chaz Coleman being the biggest one. And then AJ Harris, but there was some dynamic. We've talked about that a little bit after the slip and his playing time at the year. So let's just take these one by one. Tyseer Denmark put a tweet out that basically said he was like kind of coming back. They're trying to count me out. Let's do this, Nittany Nation.
Yeah, I saw that.
A couple hours later, maybe like 24, 36 hours later, he's in the portal. There was the thing about the helmet being thrown after the pinstripe. What do you make of that?
Well, I think there's a lot of this going on because, one, Penn State's continuing to add guys every day. And all of a sudden, Tyseer Denmark thinks he's coming back, and then he sees 4 receivers from freaking Iowa State coming here. Well, maybe you start to wonder, maybe the numbers are working against me at this point. So nothing's final. I think maybe it is best for me to go. The other point is money. Money is always a part of this. And what James Franklin's staff valued some of these guys, and I'm going to look straight at Andrew Olish and look straight at Amari Campbell, may not be what Matt Campbell's staff is monetarily valuing these guys at the same way. It's not just playing time to me. It's also money. And that's what we don't know exactly. But Andrew Olish got a lot of it, okay, to be a 5-star to come to Penn State. And he did not against him, but he didn't do anything last year. He redshirted, right? So maybe Matt Campbell isn't going to give him $1 million to sit, to see what he can do again. Well, if you're Andrew Olish, maybe you're going to test the waters. Maybe Amari Campbell isn't getting the money he thinks he deserves. Maybe he's not getting as much as the biggest returner that we didn't expect, Tony Rojas, is maybe getting or something. Who knows what those dynamics. I think there's a lot of layers. That's all I'm saying.
To put Mike, before you jump in, to put the Olish thing in perspective, $1 million is what we've kind of been heard. All to make a bigger splash than Michigan. So when Penn State fans wanted to talk about, well, these people aren't contributing to NIL. These people aren't contributing and it's hurting us and you need to do it. And they're pointing fingers and the resources have to be there. When the resources are there, $1 million went into a position that didn't really need it, all to make a bigger splash than Michigan. And that is financial mismanagement. That is, and we've seen a lot of it. And that's where I've come in and I've been harping on this about transparency with NIL and who's getting what. So fans actually know what they're contributing to. I'm not saying the kid's not worth $1 million, but he was not worth $1 million to Penn State, being what they've had in the tight end room and what they were going to have going forward.
And the fact that Appley's going to be there and this kid from Iowa State's going to be there. Yeah. You're right. Another, you're right. What Frank said, money factors in. So many things factor in. But you have a kid like Specca, who probably, if you look at the roster right now, you think he's going to have a good chance to play linebacker for Penn State next year. No, he's going to Purdue. What?
I know. I don't get it. I don't get Dejan Lane either because he's basically a starter penciled in beside Marcus Neal.
Yeah, he's another one. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
says he's coming back and then he's not. So maybe he's to me, playing time is there. Is he not getting the money he wants? I mean, Amari Keenan.
I don't think anybody's throwing a ton of money at Specca.
No,
I will be producing it. Like Dave Jones, and he's going to play linebacker out of school. And I know this is years ago; it's over a decade ago. But Dave Jones, one of the lines I've ever heard in the press box, binoculars down. This is some of the worst linebacker play I've ever seen. 2012, freezing cold. Craig Fitzgerald without a shirt on pregame, and Dave Jones saying that.
Well, maybe Specca's going to change that.
I don't know. So many layers to peel away. The King Mac just shocks me.
Yeah.
Really, it just
surprised me too.
And it goes with legacy again. You're in the portal for the third time. If he stays at Penn State, yeah, you might get more money in the short term. And again, maybe it's life-changing money. I get that. Alumni take care of their own. Business people that graduate, they take care of their own. There's ventures. I got to think with legacy, there's something to be made down the road. And I think a lot of these kids are giving it up. They're not going to have a home to come back to where they're pretty much welcomed and embraced by fan base. We've seen that with Silas Redd. You know, I've never seen Silas Redd back at Penn State, and he would be the all-time leading rusher for the Nittany Lions.
Conceivably, yeah.
You know, and I think some of these kids are giving it up. Like Amari Campbell, I'm not sure where you're going to end up, but tweet out you got disrespected. I don't understand that. You started every single.
Well, I think Frank explained it.
Yeah. I mean,
Frank probably explained it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of him, it had to be a money thing because outside of it, I just don't understand it at all. Luke Reynolds, I could see him ending up, with James. I haven't seen where he's landed if he did yet, but obviously Grunkmeyer going to Virginia Tech. Let's talk a little bit about that. In the dream scenario, you wanted Ethan Grunkmeyer back. And even with Rocco Beck, just say he's better now. I'm not the Indiana, let's hit on a quarterback every single time. I am very much a find your guy, develop your guy, and that's the way you get consistent long-time success. People may say I'm outdated. You could say it doesn't work anymore. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Because I was an Ethan Grunkmeyer guy.
I think you're outdated. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
I'll take that reference.
Well, I mean, I would rather have Rocco Beck than Ethan Grunkmeyer in 2026. Mm-hmm. And who knows what we're going to be talking about a year from today. I mean, we're beyond the wild west here. I think a lot of people in the Penn State fan base are high on Grunkmeyer and would rather have seen him get a shot. He's one of those guys who the backup quarterback is the most popular guy in town, and then he got a shot and did pretty well with it. So I understand that, and we'll have conceivably in 2027, if we're thinking way ahead here, we'll have Falzone and this kid from the backup from Iowa State competing for it. So, I mean, I think they're pretty well set at quarterback. Obviously, it would have been much better if they'd had both Grunkmeyer and Beck, but that was...
Well, and the thing is, it's like, this just shows you can't figure any of this stuff out from our perspective because we know, the coaches know, the players know, you need more than one experienced, if you can, quality quarterback. Every team does. Every Power 4 team does. Yep. Grunkmeyer knows that. Grunkmeyer knows that Penn State can't go into 2026 with him and some redshirt freshman who's never played. That can't happen. So he knows there's got to be another guy. I wonder if it's more him leaving is about Alex Mansky coming than it is Rocco Beck even, because, there's going to have to be another guy. You're only a freshman. The competition will be open. Rocco Beck could get hurt in week 2. You know all that. I wonder if it's more that Iowa State really wanted to bring in a guy like him, like a redshirt freshman like him in a way, and that he didn't want to stay with 2 guys coming in. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, where is he going where he's guaranteed not to compete with somebody for a starting job at that level? I guess Virginia Tech maybe has a better shot where he's going. But I mean, how many places are you going to go as that quarterback like him where you're not going to compete. And maybe it's, I don't know. I just, between that and the money thing, I don't know how you
really a factor.
how do you
Maybe
figure it
they
out?
threw some money at Rocco Beck. Maybe they threw some real money at Rocco Beck.
You know,
And again, I know I'm a fossil and I'm living in the past and I'm dreaming of yesteryears and, pre-.com era and, the pageantry and stuff like that.
Pageantry. Oh, I love the pageant.
I get it, but I just viewed Ethan Gruckmeyer's ceiling as a senior as higher than what Rocco Beck is. And I know you could bring a guy in like Rocco Beck pretty much every year, in theory, and have success year in and year. What Cignetti's doing at Indiana, I think, kind of changes everybody's calculus on this. He hit again. He gets the top quarterback out of the portal from a program, TCU, which is pretty damn good. Like, TCU is a good football program, and that's Indiana's starting quarterback next year. So, at least
Cignetti is on another level. He's doing I've never seen a better coaching job, I don't think, in any sport. And the way he's being perceived now is, where this kid from TCU says, let me go catch on to this bandwagon. And I'll tell you something else. The NFL is going to be on the phone to Cignetti, if they're not already, with 6 or 7 NFL teams that are looking for a new coach now. So he's almost like Bizarro World. He's off the charts.
One with a standard of excellence.
No question.
There's
unbelievable.
I've turned it back around. That's 2 Raiders references in a row. The Raiders have a standard of excellence.
Okay, that's not what I thought you meant. I misread that. I'm with you, though. I hear you.
But, the thing is like, and yet we watch Penn State play arguably at least its best half of football and coulda, shoulda, woulda beat Indiana, who's undefeated, the number 1 team. And if that happens, there's some different things going on right now. That should have really.
And the same thing with Oregon. Oregon playing Indiana in a national semifinal. What is that, tomorrow or Friday? And Penn State arguably should have and came unbelievably close to beating both of them.
By a rule interpretation I've never seen. And I'm not saying it was wrong. I've just never actually heard it said to me like that, but it makes sense. It does. And
what are you talking about?
With a blade of grass, like the elevation of a blade of grass that obviously, because it's in the ground, and I could very easily make an argument to it. The blade of grass being in the ground makes the grass down. So if a missed lawnmower cut has a tall piece of grass
on the play where the guy's knee was.
Yeah, it's not the ground as the grass is cushioning. The grass is the level of ground. It's a concrete floor going across the grass tops.
That's ridiculous.
And, like, when you think about it, how many possible calls of complete versus incomplete on the sidelines in the history of college football could have been changed by having high-res camera? Heck, if you have an SD camera on review or just 1080 and not 4K, you're not able to zoom in that far.
Yeah, but is that even? I thought that was wrong. Is that even right? That the top blade of grass that's the ground. That's for rules purposes the ground. I didn't think that was the case.
Well, they never came out and corrected it, so I'm assuming it was. And I said afterwards, and we had a couple comments on that podcast about it being down. And I'm just saying, in my years as a football referee, which I've been out of it for some time, and I used to go hear college guys talk and stuff, I've never heard it phrased like, once you touch the grass, like, it's just, you're down. It was always just, you're down. You're down. So I've actually just never heard that. And again, I'm not saying it was wrong. A lot of people don't know in college football, if you're up and you put the football down on the ground and you're holding it, you're down because the ball's down on the ground. A lot of people don't know that, but that's college football rule. So, it's just wild when you talk about what could have changed Penn State's season in multiple situations going through. We wouldn't have 40. If that blade of grass isn't up, we don't have 40 guys in the portal. James Franklin's probably still the head coach at Penn State.
Who knew agronomy was going to factor in?
I'm not sure who would be the president of Venezuela if that blade of glass was down.
Yeah, that's wrong.
That's a whole other topic.
Something about a butterfly flapping its wings. And
That we don't delve into that stuff on this podcast. Send in your emails. We'll answer them that way.
send in your emails on the butterfly word. Yeah.
College football playoff. Our Indiana made the SEC look like bad. Just bad. I mean, this is Alabama. People are supposed to, Alabama lays a turd against Michigan last year. Oh, well, they didn't want to be there. They had an excuse.
I mean, that's the Outback Bowl. That's a different thing.
I get it, but it was against Michigan, right? They did.
Well, yeah, you're right.
They lay a turd against a Michigan team that, all in all, wasn't that great and wasn't that great this year. They're supposed to get smoked by the Crimson Tide and Signetti and the Hoosiers and the Heisman Trophy winner and everybody else. JMU transfers just absolutely run roughshed over Indiana in the Rose Bowl for their greatest win in program history. What does that just say about the level of the Big Ten? I mean, because Ohio State lost to Miami. So we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But just Indiana just kicking the crap out of Alabama shocked a lot of people, Frank.
Well, I think people who were really I'm sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Alabama to me has been suspect for ever since Kalen DeBoer got there. I mean, you lost to Vanderbilt last year. Before that was a thing you should even be doing. And they didn't get to the playoffs. And this year, they're a good team, but they're not a consistently team you can count on. And it's like Indiana saw their weaknesses and just exposed them. And yes, you give a lot of credit for Indiana for coming together and playing at that level when they need to come and play at that level. Like, that's not always easy to do, even if you have it in you to actually do it now that the playoffs are here. So, hats off to Indiana, but I was not a big fan of Alabama's chances or team going into this, and didn't think they get beat that badly. But when you start piling on somebody like that, I think it shows where their heart is a little bit.
I was amazed how many people, pundits on television, whatever, picked Alabama to win that game. I think Alabama was the worst team still playing, and I think Indiana's the best team in the country. I mean, maybe that will be proved otherwise. But 30, I didn't see 38-3 coming, but I certainly thought Indiana was going to win that game. And I think people who are stunned by it are people who are looking at the name on the jersey more than they're looking at the actual football team on the field.
Yeah, I picked Indiana to win, and again, I didn't think Alabama should have made it in. I know the metrics and having impressive wins. They got tallywhacked at the end of the year, and I thought Notre Dame should have been in over Bama, and I thought Miami should have been in too. I thought Bama should have been the one out.
100%.
And I'm not saying that in retrospect. I said that before, and it's fine. People told me I was wrong. I get it.
If you want.
Let's go Ohio State, Miami first here. And not a good look. Mike, I texted you during the game that Julian saying it just seemed like his windup was so long.
I didn't really notice that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't really notice that. I didn't really know what to say in response to that. To me, he wasn't really the problem. I mean, he didn't play great, but I didn't think he was really the problem. I thought Ohio State did not play well on the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line was really beaten up. And even with given all of that, I would have thought their defense was so good that they could have gotten past. It would have been a struggle, but they could have gotten past that round. But at the end of the game, Miami was winning up front and running the ball and moving the chains and draining the clock, and they deserved to win.
Yeah, I'm not saying Sayin was the problem by any stretch. I just thought when he was getting heated up and by their line playing so bad, and I disagree with Ryan Day calling the plays. I think that should have been because there's something to rhythm and knowing your players more. I think Hartline still should have been able to do that. I think that's a miscalculation. I just thought Sayin looked indecisive and he was more winding up than just letting it cut loose. Maybe that's a blueprint for Penn State next year. Frank, what were your thoughts just watching that game? Because Miami they look like early 2000s Miami. They look really good.
I mean, Julian Sain's in a tough moment. I think you don't always know how a rookie's going to, or a first-year guy is going to react in that type of environment, right? It's a little different than playing free and easy against Penn State on November the 1st when you can just wing the ball down the field. But the other thing is, here's the thing. Ohio State, and this, I still think this is a little shocking. They don't have an elite running back, and they haven't had one. Like like for how good they are, they don't have the kind of, to me, the type of takeover guy you want or need at that position for these moments. And they can get away with it because of what Mike said, their defense, their pass game. But to me, there's going to come a time when maybe you need that more. And I don't think they have that. And, they have a bunch of guys who are really good, but they don't have that one guy that I think you need to, step up.
And they had that last year and won the national championship.
Well, they had two of them, yeah. They had two
guys that are in the NFL now and doing pretty well
right.
at the NFL. Yeah.
And you could go to either one maybe, but I don't think that, to me, that was a difference too. That's a difference. And I was still, having said all that, didn't watch the whole game at all, but a little, I'm more surprised by the score of that game than maybe any I will be in the whole playoffs.
Does it say anything about the Big Ten? Does it? I mean, because people were saying, I've seen some stuff about Miami took Ohio State behind the woodshed. I think there were some dynamics there. And Indiana, I get it, but they're saying Oregon isn't that good and it's a one-team conference. I didn't really understand that, how Ohio State's lost to Miami. Miami is still a name. Miami still has a lot of athletes. I do think the way Alabama lost to Indiana is more detrimental to conference argument to this whole thing about Greg Sankey saying we need 7 teams in the college football playoff. The Indiana-Alabama game says no, and it goes the same thing. Ohio State losing to Miami says no to getting pretty much more than 4 teams in any playoff.
Anybody who has any sense says no. That's ridiculous. 7.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Big Ten has 2 teams in the Final Four. I mean, what more do you want? They had 3 teams in it that had a shot. And I think, again, you could look back. People aren't going to be thinking of Penn State, but, Penn State almost beat both of those teams. So there's something to be said for the depth of the league, at least at the top half of it. I mean, what the heck? You're going to have a conference that has 15, 16, 18 teams. Some of them invariably aren't going to be good, for God's sakes, right? But I think the top, they have 5 or 6 teams. Even Penn State that only won 7 games almost beat both of those teams. So.
People love to argue about conferences. It's the way that just another way for people to stick their tongues out at each other. But these conferences are so big now that I'm not sure there's any meaning to it. And I do think that the Big Ten has caught up to the SEC a little bit in the middle tier when you have an Illinois. Again, let's not put a lot of stock in bowl games, but I thought Illinois beating Tennessee. I thought Iowa beating Vanderbilt. That's kind of maybe a little bit of evidence of that.
Best play for the public at large in the country, the best play of bowl season. I know we've seen some sick catches, some great plays in general, was watching Diego Pava get absolutely demolished by that Iowa linebacker. That guy could be president right now. Everybody would vote for him.
Oh, I would vote for him for president right now compared to what we have.
Absolutely. Before here, let's go to Ole Miss. Trey Wallace III, Harrison Wallace III, obviously could catch the football, obviously could be thrown open, obviously could be schemed open. Apparently, though, he sucked at Penn State. Oh, but his numbers are kind of like equal, 46 catches to 55. They're comparable numbers. Yeah, more people are catching balls at Ole Miss than were catching balls at Penn State. And I'm just saying, and I'm not the only one that picked up on it, Trey Wallace could play wide receiver. The fact that he did not have a catch against Notre Dame that's on the quarterback, that's on the scheme, that's on something. And it's not on, well, you can't get open. Not being able to get open kind of comes down to the scheme. Am I correct?
To an extent, sure, yeah.
Trey Wallace was always a good player who could have did more in a better system. My only beef with him, if you're analyzing it, was that he didn't go up and make the big plays, the contested catches. I mean, never said he couldn't be, it wasn't a good receiver, and never said that Penn State didn't want him or needed him back. That was his decision to leave, right? To me, it was just that he just wasn't that, for how much athletic ability he had, he just wasn't the guy that proved that he could go up and make the big contested catch, i.e. against Ohio State, against Oregon, down the side. I mean, that's all. I mean,
I don't know. He has 9 catches for 156 yards and a touchdown in the Georgia game.
It's great. Doesn't surprise me.
And those were the 2 plays that were always strong. Well, he didn't have the pass against Ohio State, kind of hit off his hands and went in, and he didn't interfere with the Oregon DB. And I get it. And then I asked everybody, well, give me a third play where you think he failed, and nobody could actually give me a third play. And I get those are 2 big plays. I didn't like the call, really, the way Penn State was playing against Oregon. And he made a hell of a catch right before the Ohio State interception on that diving ball that he was interfered with down the sideline. So I just think Trey Wallace was underutilized, going forward and everything else. Who do you guys like? Indiana over Oregon. I know the game's already been played. It's extremely tough to beat a team twice. And Ole Miss, Miami.
I like Indiana and Miami.
I think I would go with that. I think I would agree. I mean, I think it's a little more up in the air, the Miami Ole Miss game, but I think Miami's proven they're just maybe they're too tough at scrimmage, and that pulls them through.
That's what I'm thinking. I got to tell you, the second half of Ole Miss, Georgia, that was some of the best college football stuff I've seen in a long time. And this Trinidad Chambliss kid, I mean, he put it. I wrote something about this, and I wrote, apparently Michael Vick and Johnny Manziel had a baby, and he took the field at quarterback in the second half for Ole Miss. I mean, that one touchdown drive, he just willed them down the field. That was incredible. And that was an amazing game. And I had the good sense, I give myself credit for this, when that ball on the kickoff after the winning field goal, when that ball trickled out of bounds and Sean McDonough said, the referees are meeting to decide if there should be 1 more second left on the clock, I went click and went to bed. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to hit Andrew up for this before we leave. So, because Andrew knows history of Penn State football and he can remember moments. Okay. So you're familiar with the Steelers-Ravens fourth quarter on Sunday night.
Yes. And just so everybody knows, we got terrible towels out in my house, and shout out Pat Fryermuth, 2 clutch catches. Shout him out. And I put my daughter in a baby onesie that said Steelers cutie for the fourth.
Okay, so you're on this. So what Penn State game in the last 20 years, did that have any memory to you, that fourth quarter? The way the game kind of went in the fourth quarter.
Kind of Illinois 409, at least for a kick.
I was thinking the 2005 game against Michigan, where the first half was just a kind of a drudgery. And all of a sudden, the fourth quarter became the most electric display of football back and forth you ever saw. And of course, it didn't end well for Penn State, but like the way that those 2 offenses suddenly went 3 quarters without doing much and then just went on fire.
It's hard for me to recollect the 2005 Michigan game without having the controversy, because I connect that game so much to the clock. And then I connected to that incomplete pass out of bounds that for a rule that's never been interpreted before or since that way. I mean, you talk about all-time screw jobs. That is one of the all-time screw jobs.
I got him going.
And I'm not going to say the full word, but effing Mario Manningham kept always. Well, I was at Syracuse at the time, and everybody would just come up to me and be like, Mario Manningham, so.
That game was very memorable. I was down in the field. I'm sure Frank was too. I was down in the field for the last few minutes, and I could picture that like it happened 10 minutes ago. I mean, that was a crazy, crazy day.
I was sitting next to Paul Posluszny's parents.
Well, there you go.
Where I sat to watch that game.
Okay.
Right in front of me. Right.
Trivia.
Sorry to the end of the
just to go off a little bit more. I mean, Mario Manningham made the play. I think it was in front of Zamitis and Calvin Lowry. Am I correct on the in route? And the other thing too, there's so much about that game, and it's like, oh well, Michigan made the plays, and Lloyd Carr got the 2 seconds at it. The play before that, Chad Henne scrambling out to the sidelines and then flicked it. Penn State's defender makes a great play to flick it out of bounds, but if the guy catches the ball, the game would have been over.
Game's over if he holds on to the football.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many different layers. Paterno didn't allow the players to speak to you guys after the game. So that pissed off a lot of people.
He was in a state at the end of that game.
Yes.
He was in a state. Yeah, he really was.
Patton.
And for people who don't remember this, just to throw this out there, if they win that game, they're in the discussion with Texas and Vince Young, and USC with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, which I don't really think Penn State was as good as either of those teams, but they would have been in the discussion for the Natty with those two teams.
I think Penn State would have done very well against Texas. I'm not quite sure how with USC's weapons if Penn State.
They couldn't have, because you saw when they finally did get that shot a couple of years later, you just couldn't. They couldn't.
Well,
yeah, but that was too
the 2008 team wasn't the 2005 team, and Darryl Clark I know is a good quarterback. Michael Robinson had something special that he was able to will with and
he was great in that Michigan game down the stretch too. That's another.
I know they had Aaron Maben, Tom Bahali. I mean, there's a lot of guys on that 05 team that are just Paul Posluszny, Dan Connor. Like there, I mean, there's dogs. And Penn State's secondary was better with Zamitis, Anwar Phillips, Chris Terrell, Calvin Lowry. I mean, you got Lowry, I think, was an NFL captain. Am I right? And Tim Shaw, God bless him and everything he's going through right now. He's on that team. Just a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank. Taking me down memory lane.
Yeah, had to do it.
Way to go.
Yeah. I could see that comparison though. I could see that definitely in terms of the offense is just the game sucking and then all of a sudden just explosiveness coming out. Let me throw one topic out because we're at 55 minutes here. The playoffs that we're in the Final Four, whether these are the top 4 teams in the country, I don't know. But when we were talking about conference strength, instead of conference championship and it only being 2 teams playing for each one, I talked about this before the Pinstripe Bowl in the preview. What about taking the top teams out of the conference, not putting them in a hat, but kind of going in a round robin-ish type way? Like Ole Miss didn't play Alabama. They play. It's almost like you're making conference championship week a true play-in game. Ole Miss versus Vanderbilt. Winner gets in. Instead of Georgia
talking, the SEC would have multiple games like that.
Like there'd be multiple games.
Big Ten would. I mean, any conference would have multiple.
And the same in the Big Ten. Like maybe it's Indiana versus USC. If USC wins, maybe they're in the playoff. Do you kind of know what I mean? Instead of just
it would be hard to figure that out.
In the Big Ten this year, it kind of worked out. Indiana and Ohio State both, they didn't play each other, so they were the conference championship. But in the SEC, you had all these one-loss teams, and none of them played each other. And it's like crazy tiebreakers, and it's like, really? Like this is
the ACC.
Yeah, or in the ACC.
I mean, the conferences are too big, and that is a That is a big problem. I'm not sure what the answer to it is, but that is as big as anything that's making the sport goofy and frustrating right now. Is that to me?
Frank, let me throw this idea by you because you're the most rational one and always bring me back to level more so than Mike. Mike likes to stoke the fire a little bit on our drives up to Penn State, get me going.
No question.
You go through your tiebreakers and you have 1 versus 2 in the conference, and then you have everybody else kind of do that play-in game that was left out of a tiebreaker type thing.
Get into the playoffs.
could possibly play in it. It gives you another data point on your resume. You have all these teams 11-1 or 8-1 in conference, 7-1 in conference. You have 6 of them. The 4
is for all Androids. This is for all 4 of the Power 4.
Yeah, it could be done for all 4 to Power 4.
It's kind of what this is a weird version of what they did in the COVID year in the last week of the year.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's
right. Yeah.
Where my idea came from.
I'd have to sit on it because I kind of like my first thought is why complicate in a sense a system that already doesn't need more complications to it. Not saying it's not a good idea, but
We'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know how to completely even answer that. I'm not sure. I like simple. And to me, adding more games and things means you have to pick more teams and then have more decisions. And then I don't know.
I think simple's gone the way of the dinosaur, big guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Frank's back with me, pre.com. We're voting on the winner. Majority rules.
I like a playoff. I like the playoff. And if you want to add some more teams to the playoff, okay, figure that out. But I'm not sure about getting into the playoff even more on the, more layers to that. I don't know. I think
our next podcast in 10 days or so, I'm going to draw this up and I'll have a graphic.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, well, there you go. Do that for me.
We're intrigued, big guy.
We'll put pen to paper. We'll be back to guests next week. Us talking about defensive tackles, large defensive tackles. Might have to dial up Devin Still here, get him on to talk about, what that big. That'd be a good one. Maybe that's preseason. So we got tons of stuff to talk about. We'll go down some people would view it as controversial topics here in the off season as well. But hey, thanks for sticking with us. The first Blue White Tailgate podcast as Matt Campbell being the head coach at the Penn State University or the Nittany Lions. All right, guys, that does it. Thanks a lot to everyone. Frank Winani, New York Daily Record, Mike Gross, the Gross Rational Product. I'm Andrew Callista. We will see you next time.